areas that we discussed earlier as a group was stop the bleed. How many of you are familiar with the stop the bleed training? Anybody? No? Not. Most of you are? Okay. So one of it is a half-a-day course. So we would begin with just an introduction at a meeting like today, an overview, and then everyone who is interested would sign up. So what we would learn is how to help a person who is actually bleeding, how to apply the appropriate pressure,
Welcome
when
to Camtasia.
and when not to use
This
the
sample
tourniquet, and all the
project
different
will
aspects
provide a
of
quick
stop the
tour
bleed.
and get you started.
Some of you may know that
If
stop
you're
the
looking for more
bleed
in-depth
classes have
tutorials
become a
that walk you
requirement
through the
for
entire
K through 12
process of
teachers,
recording,
due
editing,
to the
and
fact that
sharing
there
the
have
video.
been active shooting events. And what happens quite often is a person could bleed out before emergency assistance can arrive. And so if we can stop the bleed, we can save a person's life. So it is a skill to have. I imagine our Boy Scout leader knows somewhat about stop the bleed, right? Okay. So our question to the group is, do you think that it would be viable for us to host and participate in a Stop the Bleed class sponsored by the fire department here? Show of hands. Okay. So I'm taking it by the hands I see that you think that it would be viable for us to hold this training and you would also be willing to participate, right? So starting at our next meeting, we'll be circulating a list in the meeting, and we'll also try to have a tool online so that we can get a number. The appropriate class is somewhere between 10 and 15. And of course, the fire department is willing, I believe, to offer more than one class. And so we can take the class as a group so we can all have the stop the bleed skill. Yes?
Would you ask them when they're setting up that training program to incorporate the use of tourniquets and crush injuries? That's something that was required in California for earthquakes, but I have never seen it applied to the training programs here in Houston, pulling people out from tree piles.
I know that.
Basically what it is, if you have a crush injury, you have to apply tourniquets above the injury, or you remove the weight, or the blood will cause, the blood will cause them to have a heart attack.
That was a terrible misspelling of tourniquets, but Lynn will probably have it written down on her paper appropriately. Good point, tourniquets and crush.
A question, would this training be open to the general public?
What the fire department would want us to do is, yes, the direct answer is yes, it would be open, but everyone has to sign up in advance because they have to be fairly certain that they have the proper number of participants to commit a presenter and to make the space available and all of that. So first come, first serve would be members of the Community Response Task Force. But if you had a friend or neighbor or spouse that you wanted to bring along and you listed them out at the registration, that would be great. Yes, because the more. Okay. So one of the next topic was fire. We initially had fire suppression, and Chief preferred that we use fire prevention.
Also, we were talking about the program for the general public, and it shows that it's our partners first. But this would be a great opportunity for you to talk to other people, let them know about CRTF, and ask them to come on as a partner with us.
Absolutely, it could be used as a recruiting tool, and they come away with some very useful knowledge and develop an interest. Yes, sir.
When it comes to fire prevention, you ask them to do a training module on evacuation from wildfire.
Evacuation in what?
Wildfire.
that probably wouldn't be covered with this doing the prevention for house fires, but maybe we could add a separate.
Well, actually, more what I'm thinking is about the California scenario. What they did there, they had 13 volunteers, they set up 300 people, and phone calls. People were calling in asking what about those, what proposed, how do they deal with animals, particularly horses and cattle.
That's certainly something that we can ask about. When we were speaking with the chief, he noted that we don't exactly have that pressing issue here. We've had some droughts that resulted in a few, if you would, wildfires, but it's not a real prevalent issue in the Gulf Coast. But the more we know, the better.
I'm not just thinking about regular scenarios, I'm thinking specifically about hurricanes and the number of trees that are going to come down, and in 30 days, all those trees are going to be dead and dried out, and that's going to be a huge fire hazard. So how are we going to get our people in and out of there if one of those fires starts? And we do have wildfire risks here. I know the fire departments around here during the summer, the guys go off on their own and monitor the area for the smoke.
Okay, good point. All right. The next on our list was the Harris County flood control. But what we want is, we don't just want the flood control folks to come out and do their overview show. We want it to be tailored to something that will benefit us. What do you think as a group we want to know from Harris County Flood Control? Yes.
There are a number of, I guess you would call them drainage issues that are being resolved from the $1.6 billion. Most importantly, at the mouth of the San Jacinto, there's 1.2 billion cubic yards of tree and sand debris that piled up and clogged up the river. The junctions of the east and west forks are also supposed to be drained, and it appears already that the dredging that they did on the 59 bridge is already filled back in. That's going to be done before we get into the hurricane season.
So you want to know the status of the dredging?
Well, they were supposed to have already started, and they were supposed to be finished right now, but right now, they're in the last quarter, they're not going to be done until 21 or even 22.
Okay. Anything else? What else would we want to know from the flood control? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just was gonna say the status report to me is the best, like the status report, because like what they shared with us a year ago, 2 months ago, is different from what's happening now. And so, and obviously just in the state of what's going on, hearing regular updates and the ongoing projects and like that, it would be helpful. It's hard to keep track of all of the different things.
So updates and ongoing projects. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I believe you made ask the question, suggested that well, but one question I have, the terms of emergency management, and whether that applies to that, whether they have a recently, whether in terms of flood control, whether what information can we share there?
So a little bit louder. What information?
In terms of emergency management preparation,
Mm-hmm.
what role do they have, or in terms of feedback, in terms of engagement, in terms of sharing of information or collaboration with? So I basically anything that they offer provide on the
Okay, so what's their role in emergency operations planning and the response and everything?
how we do that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Also like to put in a request for a status update on the Lake Houston Dam. They've been making repairs to increase the number of sluices on that, and last I heard they suspended that work. And also the status on Westlake Parkway, in the rear areas of Kingwood. That rear area of Kingwood usually gets about 8 feet of water.
Okay. Anything else? Yes.
The dam would be related, related to the city.
I'm sorry, say again?
The dam would be related to the city of Houston, not their transport.
Okay, the dam is City of Houston?
The dam, and that project's well over now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a public hearing, public meeting here in the next few months. Not yet.
Okay. Another topic area on our list was the see something, say something. Are you guys familiar with see something, say something? You know, it's of course very important in terms of local crime of any kind and also in terms of terrorism. You know, you can overhear or see something in social media that would cause you to be alarmed. And then, you know, the mechanisms for sharing that with law enforcement so that if they can investigate, if there's nothing, there's nothing. But if there's something, then it can be very helpful. Yes. Yes, sir.
There is a special situation that's coming up this coming September. It's going to be the 20-year anniversary of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a program to develop heightened awareness because Houston is number 4 on the list.
So what is that for you? That you're talking about?
9/11,
I understand that.
the
Well,
20-year anniversary. The terrorists are very big on anniversary.
I know that. I thought you said that there was some kind of an event that you, like, what is coming up, not 9/11, but where they were going to be speaking about. Is that wrong?
Well, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is they're asking, they want people to become more aware. They want the police departments to develop programs in anticipation of global events,
Please say.
special operations.
Okay.
I think the FBI has a special program on it as well. What's usually targeted for the oil and gas.
So is see something, say something? Would we want to have someone from law enforcement or come out and talk to us about that, or that's, yeah, because that's, you know, when you think about the cycle of preparedness, you know, it involves planning, mitigation, response, recovery, and as a part of mitigation is information, you know, so, and also part of preparedness is information. So the more information that we can provide, the better off that law enforcement will be. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think it would be beneficial because it's something that a lot of agencies can implement, basically, huge for prevention. And, but I'm worried that it has an application depending on agency or situation. Like, for example, when you mentioned, 20 years ago, we had a this director, I did that, and it's possible, but my point is that, yes, it's crucial, if there's elements to it, or just, you know, always, you know, simply like, communicating it, it's important to stop from different other opportunities. It's interactive.
It does.
So we have a very special brand. If you see somebody at the bus stop, or shelter, the bus is be there. That's really what we need to look at. it applies also to the field and everybody that is discussing that. But when we get, that makes everybody awesome. So it's just a process.
And sometimes we can hear something and not have a context for it, but if we have some training, then our ears would alert and we can realize that it's important. Yes, sir.
I would also say that this is an opportunity for a memorial ceremony for your anniversary. I was at the 10-year anniversary. We had a lot of people from Houston who were involved in that New York 9/11. And it would also create an opportunity to develop mass casualty training exercises for all the appropriate parties.
You got that one in the mass casualty
Mass
training?
casualty training exercises, particularly for the hospitals. Now the question is, if you had the Hurricane Charlie incident, I mean, think of it. It's true, you've got about 30 bombs going down and stuff like that. Yeah, 30 bombs in downtown Houston, somebody getting one out in the woodlands, they get bombed down.
I think it's more about educating yourself, whatever.
So I was going to say, first, statewide, mass casualty training was just a couple of weeks before March. It was a week-long program. Every hospital in the state had to participate in a 48-hour mass casualty training exercise. Because the program was that when Houston gets hit with a bad class 5 hurricane, it will fill every hospital bed in the state of Texas. That one 3 years ago was the first time it had ever been done, statewide. Now, they do it individually, or the point. The point is, we're expecting mass casualties on a statewide basis. We should start training and preparing. How long have they needed?
That's a very good point that what we would want to know is how would the system overall want to utilize volunteers like ourselves in that kind of event? And if they would want to use us, what kind of training do they want us to have in advance, in order to be able to use us effectively? Because that could occur.
And most importantly, where are the assembly points going to be?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I just wanted to backtrack because what you brought up and what was being shared is kind of a good point. And I wanted to reintroduce myself. It's been a while since I've been here in person, but
Hold that thought,
Okay.
because it occurred to me that I neglected to do our introduction. When the gentleman mentioned he was from Metro, it clicked in my brain. So we are going to stop in a minute,
okay.
and we're going to do introductions because we do all need to know each other. So go ahead, though.
So all I wanted to bring up, and I think honestly this is kind of what I shared with last time I was in person, was it's helpful for us because I think we know that we need to network, we need to come together, but we need to know who does what.
Yes.
And things have changed so much since the need for this group came, because we didn't have that at Kirby, and it was invaluable to have a network come together, and so now it seems like we're dealing with natural disasters or pandemics or whatever, so much more. And so it is, in order for us to know what our purpose is and what our real needs so that we can fill a gap, that we need to find out, because there are lots of programs that Maura Herman does and KCA and HCA, excuse me, and just knowing that just makes us more able to respond to gaps and things that we can, fill together.
Okay, very good. Well, what I'd like to know from you now before we do our introductions and start to wrap up is what's not here that you would want for someone to come out and either speak with us about or provide us a training on? Because we need to do the networking, but we also want to be prepared, prepared to serve. in any way that we're needed. Yes, sir.
I think that, in March, that asked for co-ed folks to talk about what goes on with volunteer, that can fund disasters. But that, it addresses the basic question, who does what? That's what they exist to do. Trying to get everybody together. There are monthly meetings that I attend, or trying to try to get everybody to understand what the different organizations can do, what they are doing. CRTF isn't part of that. I'm not. Things that could bring in, see if you want to have partnership with them.
And it seems like we would want to. It would be a natural partnership. If they're needing some hands and feet to support some effort that they're doing, we might be able to assist with that, either as individuals or as a group or by directing. So that's an excellent. And help me out, VOAD, volunteer organizations active in disaster. Would the Red Cross qualify as a VOAD? Okay. So, I've done some training with people who are parts of VOADs, emergency management training. So, but I had forgotten the acronym. So thank you very much. Excellent suggestion. That would be excellent.
Nobody knows me, and, nobody people know who you are, so it would be a lot.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay. What VOADs? Excellent. We can work with that. Yes, sir.
I have two suggestions.
Okay.
One is to bring in somebody who's going to explain the process that's going to be needed for dealing with mass fatalities. I've taken the mass fatality incident response training from FEMA, and it's not what people think it is, but it needs to be addressed. The other is somebody who can come in and tell us what kind of care support is going to be brought in for air mobile response.
Any other suggestions? What would you like to learn more about in order to enhance your abilities and knowledge in the area of emergency management and your ability to support our community?
Exactly what, I want to know what everybody else is doing. I want to know what programs are the systems that are being employed by our local community, because in Texas, we have that unique overage of like sheriff, county, city, constantly. We have unique systems out here. And so, and I wouldn't have known any of that without going through the leadership like Houston program. And that type of knowledge that we covered in there about local law enforcement, about what the hospitals do, because we are so close to an airport, on top of like the groups that are professional emergency disaster groups like the Red Cross, and those are, I'm dying to tell you that I work at camp. I'll just do a sneak peek, but we work very closely with Red Cross and disaster center. They help us with grants so that we can serve locally that trickle down. And so those are the types of things. Who does what? I said it, and that's one of the needs, so that there's so many great working systems here that have changed in the last 3.5 years. Like we've got more structure than we did. We've been impacted by some very unique things.
Anybody else? Yes.
And I cannot emphasize how important it is to I'm over there, so I have to take it, and I wouldn't care if I say that I'm I'm using a lot of people, and have to do the party, that's what came into it. And back down, I was able to do it. And the whole operating place happened, but many of them, but they were a lot of guys, you know. And typically, the frequently, you know, we have to come in and operating your operating place. Now, so I come do the same thing, but like, hey, it's an example of how we try to do what I do, what I've done. Remember the Super Bowl in Houston? And the airport is huge. Landing to the airport? Okay. You know, it's going to be lots of people. Lots of people get out fast. And the airport do that, they do that. With a lot of things, feedback out down. And one of the things I personally, we already targeted is the airport, also over there, and some of us running employees. And but the thing that the airport did, that I found was very helpful in the city, that I'm not sure if that happened. They came out with and, you know, I'm being all I remember the details, but it was like a 4-step plan. We could call it one, which is, we can prepare, call it for 2, check on this and that, 3. And it's something that I thought, wow, so clear, and it's like to everybody. And not by everybody, I mean anybody involved in looking at the traffic, you know, hotels, and, you know, a lot of people think, well, this, you know, so the clarity of the message that all of us kind of work with, we put how it works. So this is the more the importance of not only what we work together, but how we understand what we now I know that's
Yes. Good, very good. Okay, so when you're going about your day, if you think of something, you think of a topic, you said, I should have mentioned this topic. You know that you can go on the website and you can add information there. You can send a message to Philippe that says, hey, Philippe, we talked about relevant topics to us in preparedness. I intended to mention A, B, C, and D, and you can mention it there, or you can bring it with you to the next meeting. And so please, we want your input. We want to make these meetings where they're valuable to all of us. And, you know, we're going to have different topical interests, but overall, you know, we want to make it where you want to come and you want to bring someone else because you're going to be learning something that you can put to use. Because in emergency management, we always say it's not if it's going to happen to you, it's when it's going to happen to you. And sometimes preparedness may seem to some folks so unnecessary, but when something happens and you are prepared, it makes all the difference in the world in terms of your response and your recovery. Okay, so though I got us off on an opposite foot, I want to say my name is Cheryl Vital, and I'm retired, but I'm a certified emergency manager. I worked for many years in K through 12 emergency preparedness, and I've been affiliated with Community Response Task Force since 2015, and I've enjoyed every year of it. So, Lynn?
I'm Secretary for CRTF. I'm involved in the search process. And I've been involved with CRTF, oh my gosh, since about 2017.
Please.
I'm Bob Stevenson. But this is probably my last meeting. I've been here for 2 years off and on. I'm retired on Tuesday, Thursday, and we pay staff person to be in charge. At least I'm on volunteer, and I'm in charge of this. And I'm too old for this stuff.
Who told you that, Bob? With all the knowledge you have, you never get too old. But I understand retirement. I'm retired. So thank you very much. Yes.
No, I'm Mark. We're little, I think we're everywhere. And so that's from the side. Over, speeches, metro. And we were very interested in learning about it. And we learn about it, how we can interact with that. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for coming. Yes.
My name is Justin Hodges. I'm with the staff member Dave Water Buckets, and as working with the Kingwood, my Houston area, and biggest thing that we do during any kind of emergency event is making sure that the city uses the one business necessary to this area, and making sure that things are happening.
Were you short on any resources during the freeze? I mean, did you have enough people to pass out water, do boxes, and all that type of things?
Yeah, we had plenty of people to pass out water. We had, especially during the Kingwood area, especially since the Kingwood water system is an independent side of the city of Houston. It wasn't under the same flow of water notice as the city main system was.
Yes.
And so once residents had water pressure, always right here at water pressure, there was a huge need for water because there was across the city. The biggest issue that we saw for water and things from the freezing were in the house, which were able to water system. All of the other people.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Al Robinson with Radio Collier, we're a local streaming station. We serve the Atascocita, Humboldt, Kingwood, New Canaan, and Florida communities respectively. So that's our whole thing is about communications about the local community.
And in any emergency, generally, the underlying problem is communication. So you are essential, definitely. Now we get to hear about him.
I'm Jen Carlstrom. I work actually, I have a shared position with Umbrella School District. I've been in email contact with many of you. That's been coming out to me before I have to help in services outside of what campus. But yes, I work with a lot of families that are struggling with homelessness, school district, and then help the community in general distribute services, because obviously there are a lot of cancers over 14 districts. So it's kind of humble in the title, but it's great. And I came for the very first time maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago. I can't remember. It feels like a million years.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
My name is Matt Masad. I'm with Negative Community Society, anywhere in the world. I worked with 5 years in North Carolina. Now, almost involved in crisis management, any disaster, whatever, not even all of that. And I'm a fire by choice, the nurse. And I just did a job 2 weeks ago with a third program, the CR National, helped 55 so effective to connect and back. I do a lot of jobs, and also with a career I'm always active and pleasure to be with the partner.
Great to have you. Leroy?
I'm Leroy Harrison, board member, treasurer for CRTF. Prior to that, I was healthcare for 30 years. I was in that hospital until they fired me. I was the emergency management, the EOC coordinator for Encompass Health for 30 years. I've been a part of CRTF since day 2. I don't know, whatever that was. That was when Tim Johnson was here, after, I think it was Louisiana, they got their storm.
Rita Katrina.
CRTF, CRTF, let's go. CRTF, I'm certified, I've been through their courses, so, and that's basically it. I'm retired right now, unemployed retired, taking care of grandkids.
Thank you, Leroy. Yes, sir. Please.
My name is Patrick Snyder. I'm a Newton, Texas. I'm consulting practice for business continuity, but also I want to focus on evaluation issues. I've been in emergency service for way over years, California and here in Texas. I served as the founding chairman of the emergency task force for the Greenstone Chamber of Commerce. Around the 1960 task force, I helped bring a CERT program to Southeast Texas. I participated in numerous tabletop exercises and participated in security seminars at Rice University. Right now, I'm serving as an organization structure person for a group called Service for Veterans. Fire hit all of the traditional transportation modes that provided transportation services to veterans suspended their services. Red Cross, Uber, Lyft, they all stopped helping veterans get to their appointments. So we got some donated cars, some donated drivers that I participate in, and we get them to their chemotherapy, their dialysis, their transplant, that kind of
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank each of you, especially for Mr. Snyder and everyone for contributing some ideas. We are going to work on this. This is going to be our focus in terms of getting speakers and training so that we can enhance our skills and grow our organization. Bob, I don't think we're going to let you go anywhere, but that's not up to us, right? But, okay, all right, good. So thank you so much for coming. Any other information we need to exchange today? Anything for the good of the cause? Anybody have any big events coming up? Unfortunately, our CERT rodeo was canceled this year, so maybe we can aim for that on next year. I think probably everybody in here is CERT trained, so we can look forward to that in 2022. All right, thank you so much and have a good Friday.
Thank you.